The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, celebrating KPTS's nearly 50 years of community support in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.
Brought to you by Central Security Group, your experts in home automation, security, and peace of mind. View video on your smartphone and control your home's lights, locks, heating, cooling, and more. Security app compatible with Apple Watch and Amazon Echo.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
It's time for Positively Kansas. Coming up, a dramatic journey across the globe to fulfill his mother's dying wish. This Wichita man has returned to tell about his roller coaster adventure. Also, a century-old family tradition brings young and old together for a no-tech outdoor experience that strengthens relationships and creates memories. Plus, caring for these giant beasts is no small task. It can be messy, stinky, and dangerous if they step on you. But it's a labor of love for this crew at the Sedgwick County Zoo. Brian Ramsdale shows us how important their work is, both locally and globally. And we'll take a break to enjoy the cool waters and warm colors of autumn in Kansas in our Wild Edge Report. I'm Sierra Scott. Those are just some of the stories that are queued up and ready to roll. Positively Kansas starts right now. A promise to his dying mother takes a Wichita man on a 6,000-mile journey. His mission? To reunite estranged family members and learn more about his Japanese roots. But could family ties bridge such a wide cultural divide? John Wright has this follow-up to a story he brought us a few months ago, the story of Gary Kennard. John caught up with him at the airport just after he landed back in Kansas.
Well, I'll put it this way, John. I had some good news. I had some bad news.
That's Wichitan Gary Kennard, who made a promise to his dying mother to connect to his family's African-American Japanese heritage. Over the summer, Gary endured the 15-hour flight to the land of the rising sun through a Wichita State University study program in Tokyo. When not in class, he searched for his long-lost cousin. The family was separated over the years following World War II after Gary's father married his Japanese mother. That side of the family resented race mixing and marrying who they considered the enemy. After several weeks of trying, time was running out to fulfill his mother's request. But Gary didn't throw in the towel. He sought professional help to find his favorite cousin in a sea of humanity.
I had to hire a detective to actually do the job. It was very difficult to find, but I actually found my uncle. His name is Hito, and he's my mother's younger brother. She has 9 brothers and sisters.
But high hopes led to disappointment. Gary says his Uncle Ito didn't want to see him.
I had mixed feelings about it. I can kind of understand where he's coming from. He still is my uncle. I still love him just the same.
Gary says he looks back and says now, no wonder it was very hard for me to gain contact with my families because they did not want, not only my mother, but my mother's sisters did not communicate. The detective did manage to get information from Uncle Ito about Gary's cousin, Masako.
The only information I got was that she was married to a guy that runs a funeral director's home service in Hachioji, Japan. So I went on the internet and I looked for Hachioji and all the funeral places. There's hundreds of them. So that kind of threw me back a little bit more. I would have to call each funeral home in Japanese and ask them, hey, is your wife named Masako?
In the end, Gary decided that just wasn't doable, so his mission was only half accomplished. But he says it was worth the effort, because at least now...
Sometimes in life, you got to take the good with the bad. You know, I've had a lot of successes in my life, and I've had some failures. I really wouldn't say this is a failure, but a learning experience.
Gary says he plans to return to Tokyo for the 2020 Olympic Games, but in the meantime, he plans to write a letter to his uncle and try to improve the relationship. In an effort to combat our fast-paced, technology-dominated world, more and more people are trying to turn back the hands of time by engaging in things that remind them of a simpler time, things like traditions. Every fall, a West Side Wichita family celebrates a rustic, old-time tradition that goes back more than 100 years. Anthony Powell has the story.
A beautiful, crisp, early morning in West Wichita as freshly cut Jonathan apples simmer over a crackling fire. It's the start of yet another Woodard family fall apple butter making get-together. This tradition is over 100 years old, good old-fashioned peeling and cooking, along with lots of time for catching up, bringing family and friends together year after year. The undisputed leader of the event, 96, yes, 96-year-old Jean Woodard.
She outruns us all.
For Jean, this is a time to reflect back to when she was a little girl growing up in Wichita and just starting to learn about the apple butter tradition.
My grandmother had a farm up on Hoover, and they had apples, and Jonathan's the only ones we know that you could make this with. We don't know whether we've never tried it with anything else.
Oh, because Jonathan are the sweetest ones.
Well, and they're juicy.
After all these years, Jean knows exactly what it takes to make the best butter possible. So she keeps a close eye on the operation.
She is very involved. You're not stirring this right, get it on the bottom. We need more fire, yeah.
Yes, boss, right?
Yes, we nod our heads, yes.
In addition to the apples, sugar and cinnamon are added to the mix. After several hours, success.
I'll taste it because I haven't tasted it since. Oh, it's really good. You've got enough sugar and enough cinnamon.
But this day is about so much more than making apple butter. It's about family and friends getting together, the way folks used to do it. Face-to-face conversation, no gadgets.
Family. They get together and you can see they're all visiting and talking and bringing up things they knew before. And we have one here from Texas and two here from Texas. And then we don't get to see them too often, so they come up for this and we get to see them.
Jean has great-grandsons who come back from college for this, much to the amazement of their friends.
Going back to do what? Yeah, it's a family tradition. It's been in the family for years. Yeah, you guys just have to come down and see what it's about.
TC says he relishes the opportunity to get away from technology for the chance to be involved with something so timeless.
I'm definitely going to be doing it for years and years to come. So I'm looking forward to doing it when I get older.
Yes, whether it's making the apple butter,
There's nothing tech about this. It's all about hands-on.
or just good old-fashioned visiting, this annual Woodard family tradition reminds you of a simpler time. And that's the way everybody here likes it, especially Jean.
We live too fast a life. Okay. We don't have time for family. Everybody's going 16 ways, and it's too bad.
And this is a way to slow that down.
Yeah, you take the day off and you spend it with family.
For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
The Woodwards urge other families to establish or carry on their own traditions of togetherness. They say it's a great way to reconnect with friends and relatives and socialize the way people used to do it, long before texting or social media came along. Well, here's an interesting fact you may not realize. The Wichita Public School District has 2,500 Native American students enrolled. They dress and talk like other kids, but they all share a unique bond that the Native American community is trying to keep intact. That's part of the reason the district's Title VII Native American Indian Education Program exists. Here's the program in action at the recent Indigenous Peoples Day celebration at the Mid-America All-Indian Center. Now, this federally funded effort serves to help Native American kids achieve high marks in the classroom while also connecting them with their heritage. As generations pass, traditional Indian culture tends to be forgotten.
A lot of their first exposure to any kind of Native culture is through our program. So our job is very important to make sure that we are passing that down to them and showing them what Native culture is so they can first get familiar with it and second have pride in it.
1,100 Native American students representing 90 tribes are enrolled in the Title VII program. In addition to cultural activities, the kids receive special tutoring if they need it. But this is an exclusive group. Students must be part of a recognized tribe or American Indian group and be enrolled in the Wichita Public School. Now to a story about the largest animals in the state and their human companions. Elephants might not be native to Kansas, but thanks to dedicated workers, the Sedgwick County Zoo is home to several of these 7,000-pound-plus animals. Correspondent Brian Ramsdale takes us behind the scenes at the Sedgwick County Zoo for a day in the life of an elephant handler.
They are one of the most majestic animals on Earth. Elephants have long been known for their intelligence and personalities, and we have 8 of them at the Sedgwick County Zoo. But getting these gentle giants to Wichita was no small feat, and even then, taking care of them poses its own challenges. Not just anyone can care for these animals. Do you think you have what it takes to handle an elephant? Buckle up, we're about to find out. Before the day even starts at the zoo, there are plenty of people already hard at work.
We give them hay, but their favorite thing is tree branches.
It's at the elephant habitat. This is where a lot of hard work goes in. It's the largest exhibit at the zoo. Most people experience the elephants like this.
See the baby?
And the better one and daddy one.
That's the daddy one. What's his name?
But the reality for the elephant handlers is much more hands-on than on-looking.
There's a lot of heavy lifting that goes into working with elephants.
It is pretty hard work.
Each day, a crew at the zoo works hour after hour, taking care of the elephants, the largest animals in Kansas. Andrew Haig is one of 8 elephant handlers at the zoo.
Good, Johnny, come here.
He spends part of his day helping train the elephants.
Trunk. I am in a position to have him offer ears, trunk, open his mouth. So I'm early in my training with him and still developing that relationship with him because he is a new elephant to us since May.
These animals stay in a very large habitat here at the Sedgwick County Zoo. And to really get you a better understanding of how big they are, I want to show you something. It's their footprint right here. If I put my boot inside of that, it doesn't even come close to feeling the size of what their footprint leaves behind. 7,000+ pound elephants don't leave behind just footprints. Part of the job of the handler is to clean up this, no subtle way of saying it, heaping piles of elephant poop. At least twice a day, the handlers arm themselves with shovels and take off in all-terrain vehicles to clean up.
They eat about 200 to 300 pounds of food every day per elephant.
Jamie Martin has always wanted to work with animals. Working her way up to become an elephant handler was a dream come true.
Well, the animals are just so fascinating. I could watch them all day long, and I learn something new from them every single day. So I'll never be bored in a job like this for sure.
The job isn't easy, but neither is being an elephant. Most of the elephants at the zoo were brought in directly from Africa, where staff say they were living in drought conditions and threatened by poachers. For handler Mary Zacher, the question surrounding how these elephants would handle being relocated was why she moved to Wichita.
Expand my knowledge on training because these elephants came in from Africa with no previous experience with humans, no experience with training, so they were pretty much blank slates, which was really interesting to me, which was why I applied for the job to begin with.
It wasn't that long ago that the zoo only had one elephant. In 2016, the exhibit expanded to become one of the largest elephant habitats in the nation. This in an effort to maintain accreditation.
And then release it. All right, Ajani, thank you.
The elephants are now living a life of luxury in Wichita, and people from all over come to learn about them. It's hoped that one day the zoo will be home to a breeding program that turns these elephants into moms and dads and help continue the species. And it wouldn't be possible without the caring and hardworking elephant handlers at the Sedgwick County Zoo. For Positively Kansas, I'm Brian Ramsdale.
It can take years for someone to be promoted to working with elephants. Staff at the Sedgwick County Zoo say if you're interested in working with these animals one day, the best place to start is interning or volunteering. Running a successful business is challenging even in the best of times. So there's plenty to celebrate at the Etc. shop in Hutchinson, where every penny has a purpose. The nonprofit store is celebrating 40 years of raising money for both local and global causes. Photojournalist Ben Laffin paid a visit and brings us this story in their own words.
Well, welcome to 10,000 Villages. We have been on Main Street for 40 years, which is a wonderful anniversary to have. And we are one of the founding members of the Fair Trade Federation, so that shows you the age of our store. My name is Jane Wagler, and I am the general manager for the store. We are an unusual store, and retailing is just one of the things we do. What excites me about this place is the spirit of the community and what we do to them and what they mean to us. So it's a two-way stream. We are a not-for-profit, so we donate back to the community, and I'm convinced this is the reason why we have lasted 40 years, because people know what we mean and what we do. We support other not-for-profits. We are a green store, so a lot of our thrift items that are these beautiful items would have been in the landfill otherwise.
The store was begun in a Sunday school class at First Mennonite Church in Hutchinson. They wanted a project, a worthwhile nonprofit, and began it at 3rd and Main. And later on, we needed more space, so it was moved to 18 North Main, and then we needed more space, so that's why we moved over here to this place. And when we have extra money, it is donated locally and sometimes globally at MCC too.
But not only that, we serve a purpose. There are people who are downsizing. They have clothes that don't fit. They have things they don't use, and we can facilitate them however it helps best.
People think the fairly traded items are expensive, but we are paying for the labor for the people who made it. They are not made in sweatshops, and that means something. You can see here the women, most of the workers are women. We have trans communities producing the items, traditional items that have been made the same way for 2,000 years, like the soaps. So this is a good way to shop. And most people think, oh, I don't need a lot of this stuff. Well, who doesn't give gifts? We all give gifts, and these are gifts that give twice, because the artisans who make them make money and earn an honest living, and you're saving the environment, and then the person who receives the items receives a very unique gift. So of course I'm very thrilled about this, because who doesn't want a better future for the planet and for sustainability? And the other thing about this area is that these are directly maker to market. We are a not-for-profit, so there is no middle man that makes a cut on everything. We really try to be transit and transparent in how the items get to the customer. I really appreciate your support.
Profits from the Etc. shop are helping fund organizations such as women's shelters, soup kitchens, and other organizations that help low-income families in the Hutchinson area. The crispness and color of autumn in Kansas make it the favorite time of year for many of us. In this week's Kansas Wild Edge Report, Mike Blair takes us to a serene and beautiful place to visit each fall.
Beyond man's doors lie the creeks of October. He can have his times, his busy schedules, and workaday routines, and call it living. But along the creeks where summer's engine is finally stalling and every breathing thing knows it, there is a plenitude of life that makes the human sphere seem small. There, where the certainty of the end is expressed by every falling leaf, trees embrace the autumn sky with color, not crying at their fate, but singing. Rustling cottonwoods stir the air, filling it with quiet music. To learn this song is to know tranquility, something lost in a push-button world. October creeks sweep away the stresses of summer and mirror the grandeur of a changing season. Like living film, their waters capture fall colors and print them again, offering a double portion of beauty. To all who would walk the meandering banks, gold and silver are free for the taking. The colors of autumn are wondrous gifts. Every creekside thicket is alive with activity. Songbirds flit from limb to limb, as if without purpose, yet moving southward. Bees and insects work urgently, waltzing in the arms of their flowers. Trees are scarred by restless bucks, and squirrels scamper to bury food. All must prepare for what lies ahead. But in spite of destiny, there is no remorse. The wind is a friend to the creeks of October. It plays through their trees and ripples their waters, cooling the earth with a welcome airing. It strums the leaves and dries the dew and hurries the monarchs on their way. And it hurries the days until glory fades. There is joy to be found on October creeks. Wet sand on bare feet, the flash of wood ducks against blue sky, and exuberance of life. The invitation is silent but real. The heart can hear its callings. Beyond man's doors, his spaces, his ways, the creeks of October await. Never beyond his dreams, they belong to those who seek them. I'm Mike Blair for Positively Kansas.
I am sitting here with a legend. I really am, and I consider you a legend, Diane. I do, and it's Diane Watto, if you haven't met her before. Amazing lady, but what I'm really fascinated by is the group that you're involved with. It's the Kansas Authors Club. Talk about what it is and kind of the history of how it came to be.
Well, the Kansas Authors Club was started in this state in 1914. And it's the first state authors club in the country. We are divided into 7 districts, and each district has its own group. I'm the president of District 5 right now, and we are planning our 2019 convention. We have a state convention every year in a different district. And we have speakers come, and we have our speakers lined up. Our theme is hook 'em and book 'em.
I like that. That's good.
And We're going to have a retired sheriff from Los Angeles come here. He writes, he does movies and videos. He's going to be our keynote speaker, our main person.
Neat.
And then we're going to have an assistant U.S. attorney come and talk about the difference between what happens in fiction and what happens in a real trial. And we're just having a whole slew of authors come.
What is the goal of the club? What are you hoping to
We
achieve?
encourage writers. We give them a chance to find places where they can be published.
So talk about some of the authors maybe that you've kind of helped foster that have gone on to have bigger careers.
The woman who wrote this book, she is an award-winning writer, and her book has won awards not just through KAC but from other places. And Hazel Hart, a friend of mine, she has a series of books about, this one is about a young girl who is kidnapped from her parents and raised by another group of people. And her books are set in Kansas, and she is a good Kansas Authors Club member.
So talk about your book, because we're running out of time here, but I want to talk about your last book and how we get a hold of
this
it.
This is, it's at Watermark, and I am doing a book launch on Monday. We're doing a Blue Cedar Press reading. Kelly Johnston, Michael Poge, and I all have been published by Blue Cedar Press. So we're doing my book launch and then a reading. And this book is just a compilation of poems. It's sort of a story of my life. And my son was here Monday, and I gave him a book because I'm not going to make him buy it. And I said, you can read about all the chaos of my life.
Yeah.
You poor child.
And that's a neat way to do it, though.
Yeah.
And it probably feels good to share that.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
Well, Diane, thank you for all you do, and thank you for inspiring other authors, because it's hard sometimes to know how to get started. So
yeah, well, come to a meeting second Saturday of every month, the Lakeview Room of Larksfield Place, 1:30.
Perfect.
We have treats.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Send your story ideas to positivelykansas@kpts.org. I'm Sierra Scott. See you next time.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
Brought to you by Central Security Group, your experts in home automation, security, and peace of mind. View video on your smartphone and control your home's lights, locks, heating, cooling, and more. Security app compatible with Apple Watch and Amazon Echo.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, supporting KPTS and the communities it serves in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.